Hey, it's your friend Joy CJ here, and here is my Week 3 battle for P4G Next Generation. We are going up against Panther, and if you missed my team builder yesterday, I do recommend you check it out. Decided to split up the videos this week so that you can get like 2 shorter videos and you don't have to spend so long going through the battle if you don't want to. Let me know what you guys think about that. But in case you missed it, let me real quick go through my team. I have a Spadef Mega Scizor, meant to deal with Mega Metagross, a Fizdef Musharna for Terrakion, a mixed defensive Seismitoad with Rocks, which is a good check for Terrakion and Salazzle. Quick note on Seismitoad, I did drop Ice Punch for Toxic at the last minute, so that is a change to my team. I have a Restalk Muck, which is just a very annoying Pokemon for his team to deal with, especially because he did not bring his Golurk. We have a Choice Banded Tapu Koko, which is looking mighty spicy in this matchup. He's got 3 really Spadef-looking Pokemon with the Eel, the Sylveon, and the Goodra, and Tapu Koko can 2-shot all of those with Wild Charge, which is really nice. And then last but not least, I do have my Belly Drum Chestnut, which has a couple of decent opportunities to set up. It can set up on Jellicent quite easily. It can set up on a Choice-locked Terrakion if he does bring a Choice set. And potentially, upon, depending on what kind of eel it is, we could potentially set up on that. I did put some bulk investment onto this thing, so that way it can take Volt Switches a little bit better, and potentially keep it sub versus a Volt Switch. So, in terms of the leads, I'm thinking I really want to lead with Scizor here. Scizor leads quite well versus everything on his team. Terrakion is probably the thing that can do the most damage to me turn 1, but the problem with that for him is that I obviously threaten him with Bullet Punch. So he's not going to want to lead with that. And if he leads with Metagross, Scizor is my dedicated counter to Metagross. Anything else I can U-turn on and just get my Mega Evolution immediately. I want all of that bulk as soon as possible so I can switch into Metagross most effectively. And so that is going to be my strategy, and we'll start playing this game. Good luck, Panther. It's going to be interesting to see what he leads off with. In Week 1, he led with Sylveon, and in Week 2, he led with Terrakion. That's another reason that I chose to go with the Scizor, just because it matches up very well versus both of those things. So my Scizor comes out here, and Panther is going to lead off with his E4 Dan, which is his Electros. So I'm A-okay with this. I can U-turn out, like I mentioned, and make sure that I get as much bulk as possible onto my Scizor. And I'm going to go into Toad here, because if he goes for Flamethrower, trying to get damage onto my Scizor, we take that very well. If he tries to go for Volt Switch to gain momentum, we block that. And either way, we should be in a decent position to go for Stealth Rock. And it's not that likely that he's got grass coverage on his team. Of course, he does go for Giga Drain with his Eel. He makes a really, really nice turn 1 prediction. But besides that, I don't anticipate him having a whole bunch of grass coverage on his team otherwise. But had that been the case, we could very easily live any hit and go for Stealth Rock. So that is what we're going to end up doing. And a quick note about this Eel. So based on the damage that it took from U-turn and the damage that it did to my Seismitoad with Giga Drain, this is a max special attack Eel with no Fizdef investment. So this is likely a max HP Assault Vest set, which makes a lot of sense, of course, for dealing with a specially attacking Tapu Koko. Fortunately for him, I am a Fizdef set. I bring in my Muck because Muck isn't threatened by anything that Eel can do. I do just go for a knockoff as he brings in his Sylveon. So this is very interesting. The Sylveon isn't what I normally would consider to be a switch-in to Muck, but I don't know, maybe he just doesn't anticipate that the Sylveon has a lot of worth in this matchup, so he's trying to sack it off. Luckily, I do land the Poison Touch. That's really annoying for him, because it's going to reduce the longevity of his Sylveon even further. I guess if he's just trying to sack it, maybe it doesn't make a huge difference. And it does just go for the Hyper Voice here. That would have done maybe like 25-26% to my specially defensive Muck. So yeah, the fact that he's not trying to go for Wish and Pass and things like that leads me to believe that he's just trying to sack off this Sylveon. So I go for a U-turn in case he wanted to switch into Jellicent, because now that I have up Rocks, if I can get up a Belly Drum with my Chestnut, I actually win. Depending upon if he has a Scarfer or not. So I'm hoping that he'll switch into Jellicent and I can U-turn into my Chestnut. But he stays in, goes for another Hyper Voice, and like I said, my Muck takes this very well. I just go for another knockoff in case he decides to double this time. I'm weary of clicking Poison Jab, just on the off chance that he brings in Metagross. And I knew that even if he stayed in, that he would go down to poison damage. So that's why I'm happy to stay in with Muck, and the Sylveon now goes down. So we are getting close to even with him. I think we're 5-5 now. But he does bring in his Mega Metagross, and this is quickly going to put the match back in his favor. He's going to be able to Mega Evolve, and I choose to stay in just because I don't think that Muck is necessary in this matchup. He didn't bring his Salazzle, which is his top kill getter this season. And, you know, I guess I could use this to pivot into Eel or Jellicent, but I'm just less worried about those threats. And, you know, that's kind of what I'm thinking here. So now I go into my Scizor, and I'm, of course, expecting the HP Fire, but here's my thought process here. My Chestnut does, like, 89% minimum to this thing with a +6 Drain Punch. And so all I need to do is get chip damage on this thing to put it in range of Chestnut. And then, in addition to that, Tapu Koko's Wild Charge actually does 75% minimum to a non-invested Metagross. So if I can come in with this Koko here on the U-turn, I literally get a kill because nothing switches in on Wild Charge. As you can see, he tries to bring in his Goodra, and this is not going to take it well. This is definitely going to take like 50%, and it actually takes way more than that. It takes like 65%. So this must have a lot of special defense investment on it, and like almost no HP investment, you know, just to try and get the most benefit out of the Assault Vest. But just it's not a strategy that is going to work for him versus my Koko, so very happy about that. So just to rewind for a second, even though I knew that he was going to go for HP Fire with Metagross, I didn't mind because I knew that my Scizor would be able to survive. I would get off the critical chip damage that I need in order to put it in range of both Koko and Chestnut. And I knew that I could roost up versus different members of his team, so felt okay about that. So now he brings out his Eel. There's not a ton that Eel can really do to threaten me necessarily, but I can't two-shot it, and I'd like to preserve health on Koko if I can, just to try and get off as many Wild Charges as possible. So I do go into Musharna as he brings in his Jellicent, which is fine with me. He goes for Toxic as I click Thunder Wave, but I actually forget that my Musharna has the Synchronize ability. So this is going to put a Toxic onto the Jellicent, which is kind of obnoxious. So, I mean, I'm glad to be wearing down this Jellicent a little bit. Maybe he also forgot, because I doubt that he wanted his Jellicent to be Toxic. But, you know, it is what it is. So on this turn, I'm just going to go for a Shadow Ball. And the reason being, if I can just get him to about 50% HP and force him to recover, I can get a safe switch into my Chestnut, go for a Belly Drum, and potentially go for the Sweep. And so I do go for Shadow Ball, and we're actually going to land a crit. Which, in a way, like, it doesn't matter, because, like, you know, whether it didn't kill him, like, he was probably going to go for a recover either way. But in a way it did, because I think it changes his attitude here. Like, he's probably thinking that because it's already so low and because it's Toxic, that Jellicent isn't that valuable anymore. So I switch in my Chestnut on his recover, and he instead goes for Scald. So I'm thinking, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, am I going to get burned? But no, we get extremely lucky. We dodge the Scald burn, and now I can go for a sub here. And he's already shown Taunt, Toxic, and Scald. There's almost no chance he's got Ice Beam on this thing. If he goes for Shadow Ball, I am bulletproof, so I can't get hit by that. I go for a sub as he Toxics, and so I have my free substitute. He goes down to the Toxic damage, and I'm going to click Belly Drum here. If he goes for Volt Switch and he breaks my sub, that's going to be a little bit bad, because then I have my Chestnut, which is pretty much just exposed, and is going to be able to be revenge killed by Bullet Punch on Metagross. Or if he's got if he has Scarfed Rack in the back, he can revenge kill us with that. But he instead goes for Flamethrower to break our sub, and this is actually best case scenario, because now he can stay in here. We can click Drain Punch, and Drain Punch is easily going to be able to knock out this Electros and get us back up to a nice amount of HP. And I'm thinking this is GG here, because all he has left is the Metagross and the Terrakion. We already killed the Eel, the Jellicent, the Sylveon, and I forget the other thing, the Goodra? Yeah, the Goodra died easily to the Koko. So I'm thinking this is going to be a sweep, and he actually reveals that he's a Scarf Terrakion, goes for close combat, and he kills. And I was like, wait, how did he kill? and I looked at the calc, and it was actually like a very good chance to kill. It was like an 80% chance for him to kill from the range of HP that I was at with his close combat. So, you know, nothing really to be outraged about at all. You know, he made the best play. If it were me, I had told him that I probably would have gotten tilted and just sacked the rest of my team. Like, if I would have brought in his Metagross, I could have Drain Punched then I would have Drain Punched it and then been out of range of that close combat. But as it is, I bring in my Koko versus the Terrakion, click Wild Charge, because I know that I resist the close combat. So either he has to sack that off, or he has to sack off his Metagross, and that's exactly what he did. He brings his Terrak back in. He is going to try and lock himself into Stone Edge, which could potentially go through my team, but he unfortunately misses on my Koko. That almost certainly would have killed my Koko. Actually, yeah, it's like guaranteed. And my Musharna, because it is Fizz Def, would have been able to survive. I could have clicked Psy Shock, you know, done a pretty tremendous amount of damage to it, and then followed up with a Bullet Punch from Scizor. So unless he crit on my Musharna, I think that the game still would have been ours if he had hit there. But as it is, we end up with a 3-0 victory. Chestnut getting off the belly drum, but not being able to finish the sweep. Luckily for Chestnut, our good buddy Tapu Koko there he was there to pick up the slack, and he ended up getting 3 kills in this match, bringing him up to 7 for the season, and that puts him at the top of the kill leaderboard. Of course, at the time that I'm recording, there's still a few matches left to be played, so that might change as more results roll in. You know, I know that people are already talking about this as being the best spawn in the format, and I think it's very good. I think with time, like, people are going to figure out how to play around this thing a little bit better, because, you know, like, if you go look back 2 years ago, Mega Lopunny was like the unstoppable Pokemon. It gets like 25-30 kills on any team that it's on in any particular season. Now, it's true that Koko is a little more versatile because it can run physical and special sets, and it's very hard to prep for in that way. But I just think that with enough time, it'll get solved. But until that point, I'm pretty happy that it's on my squad and not somebody else's, because it's looking really dangerous. And so, big shout out to Panther for a really fun game. I was really scared about a lot of Panther's offensive threats, and he did apply a lot of pressure. The Metagross got a kill on my Muck and applied a ton of pressure. Terrakion could have really come through if we didn't get in with the Koko when we did, and stuff like that. So, looking forward to the next time we get to play Panther. If he does make playoffs, there's a chance that we'll bump into him again, and he is looking like one of the most dangerous and competitive coaches in this season, and because he was undefeated coming into this game, and he's got a top-tier team to boot. So, you know, I think this is our biggest challenge so far, but I'm happy that we were able to pull it off, and I'm looking forward to next week as well. We're going to be going up against our good buddy Johnny GB, coach of the Oregon Ducklets. I've known Johnny for quite a while now, a little under 2 years, back when I was a analyst for a league that he was in, and it was really fun. I didn't do anything in terms of videos. I just did written power rankings, and that was actually a good experience, and got me the chance to meet with some pretty cool people. So it'll be nice to battle Johnny. I don't think I've ever actually battled him in a league before, so we'll see what he can bring to the table, and hopefully we can have another fun match. So until the next time, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you check back to the channel for other gaming and Pokemon content. Until the next time, I'll see you guys later.